project is empathy. If you want to hit the next slide. So for any of you that don't know, empathy is the ability to understand and share feelings of another person. So most of you have heard like, oh, like be more empathetic towards that person, or like have empathy, and that's what that means. Next slide. So how I came about this topic was I spent a lot of time actually doing nothing, and then I met with Mr. Bruckner, and I was just complaining about like things that I hated in the world, and all of them connected to empathy. So I decided to, hey guys, be empathetic here. You probably woke up late or something. So yeah, I was talking about things that I hated in the world, and a lot of them connected to things with empathy. And so why this is important to me is empathy is literally everywhere. It connects to probably every single one of you all the time. An example is situations at work, like boss and like employee relationship. Like you have to have empathy towards the employee and towards your boss. You have to know that when you get yelled at, he might not know that it's something that you didn't do, but there's like a situation where you can't tell your boss, hey, you're wrong, because then they're going to be like, well, that's kind of rude, you're fired. So you have to be empathetic and know that he might not know, so maybe explaining it in a different way, and he needs to be empathetic towards his workers and not just write them all off as like stupid teenagers that don't know how to do anything. Another situation is teachers and student interactions. A lot of you probably have been pushed around by some teachers. I know I have. And there's a lot of situations where I can't say what I feel because it's not polite. And I have to have empathy towards that person and know that, hey, maybe this person is just like, they just like things a certain Catholic way, and they just like to have things exactly by the rule book instead of understanding the student and knowing that, hey, they didn't exactly mean to do this on purpose. Like, they're not trying to like hurt you, they're just, it's their situation that they're in. And if you guys want to connect this to Mary Brown, because I know we like that, but Mary Brown, like, you have to be, there's empathy in that. The bully should be empathetic towards the person that's being bullied and be like, hey, like, this person probably doesn't have that great of a life, like, why should I make her hate her life as she goes through the school day? And then you also have to empathize towards the bully as well. You have to know that maybe something in their life isn't as great, so they feel like they have to bring others down, or that maybe their like life at home isn't that great, and they're having a hard time like communicating with other people. Next one. So my idea for this was originally I wanted to kind of change people's thinking towards one another, and but then after connecting it to criminal justice, I focused on empathy in racism and discrimination. And next slide, please. So the way this connects to criminal justice is there's a case, Loving versus Virginia. We've talked about it in class, but I don't know if you know the name of it. It's the law against, it helped take away the law against having people of different races marry. So now people, you know, like colored and not colored can get married as they want, but before they couldn't. But the case Loving versus Virginia changed that, because it was a man, or it was a woman, Mildred Loving, a black woman, and then Richard Loving, a white man, and they were sentenced to a year in prison because they got married. And then polygamy, some of you know what that is, like many wives. You have to kind of be empathetic towards that situation. Like, it's against the law, but you know, like that's part of their religion. Like, I know, like I would never want to have like multiple like other. My husband would have other wives, but you have to know that that's like what they want, and it might not be what you want, but all about how other people look at things. The Civil Rights Act of 1991, it helps for employment discrimination. So you can't be hired or fired just because you're a certain color or like a certain male or female. And this also helps to protect people that are employed, so that they can't just be let go for not being a certain race. The Equal Pay Act is that's where men and women should have equal pay if they're doing the same amount of the same job, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the men's or whoever has a higher salary should be lowered to meet the lower demand. It's just everyone that works at the same level should get paid at least that much. You shouldn't just get paid less because you're a female. The service and public accommodations in Article 15. There's it's a law against discrimination in people let's say you're at a restaurant, you can't deny someone a service just because they're a certain way, and you also can't solicit or put up signs that say certain things are bad or wrong and on your establishment. I don't know if you guys know that what happened at that Chick-fil-A I think it was a year ago down south, and they denied gay people to come in and order food there because they were gay, which is against the law, but so there was a lot of protesting that went on. Next slide. So who enforces this? Basically every single person polices this. Well, obviously the police can do things against discrimination and hate crime, but also every single one of you can police this as well. And also teachers can, because if they see something happening in the hallway, they can be hey, stop that, don't.